Good morning, everybody. What we're going to do today is start out with a real quick quote by Kevin Sturtz. It states, every contact we have with the customer influences whether or not they'll come back. We have to be great every time or we'll lose them. The main reason that this was chosen today is that the main theme of our quick sales technique this morning is going to be basically focusing on retention, things that you can do right now to retain your customer through AEP and OEP, and things that you can actually utilize post AEP and OEP. So one, they will be retained for as long as they really want to stay with you as their agent. And two, if you need to initiate any sort of retention options, these are going to be there. They're going to be just some real quick tips for you. I think it's actually something that that there was a training session that I received on this in one of the very first training classes that I had many moons ago, probably over 22, 23 years ago. And, just out of sitting in a contact center doing some sales, and I had just gotten out of my training, and I went to my first follow-up training, and it was on retention. Retention is a very critical and pivotal part of any organization, whether it be sales or service or anything. Retention can sometimes mean the life or the death of a company, even in most cases. And it was a really motivational, it was a very powerful lesson and message that I actually took out that day. And it stuck with me this entire time. So I've actually utilized some of those pieces today, and then some additional things as well too, to kind of course, keep it current so that it's not 26 years old. It's always something that you can use in every phase of your life. It actually can be applied in multiple different ways. But with that said, once again, it is Motivation Monday. I appreciate everybody spending time with us today. We are going to go over 4 things today. First of all, we're going to go over a real quick tip of the week. We're going to then dive into the trends for last week, and then hit our sales leaders as well. We have some shakeups in the sales leaderboard, so I'm excited to go over that. And then we'll go into the sales technique that I was talking about the retention and things that you can do to actually make real good connections with your clients to retain them basically for life. I mean, that would, I imagine, be the goal, especially in things like Medicare sales, where you do really want to make sure that you get those renewals and then of course those referrals from your clients as well, so that that retention part of it is something that's really critical and key to that portion, and in any portion in healthcare sales as well. So real quick, what we're going to do here for today's tip, we're just going to briefly remind everybody that to keep your eyes on the sales incentive page all year round. Not only the fact that it's AEP now and OEP, and we have just an extraordinary amount. I think that there's 15 ongoing sales incentives right now, anywhere from Cabo to some Hollywood playground, Palm Springs type of things. I think that the Nat Gen ones that are out there right now are some really, really nice ones as well too. Even we got Cigna's going down to Bermuda. So, just remember to keep your eyes on these sales incentives. I know it can get sometimes even overwhelming. There's just so many incentives going on. Do I pick this one? Do I pick that one? Where do I focus? Really, it's just, in my opinion, it's really kind of a really good combination of all of them and what you're actually selling the most of. Just pick a couple, stick with it. And a lot of the times, a few of them, for example, like the Nat Gen ones that are out there right now, they have running bonuses in each individual month. So you want to go in there, maybe keep an eye on which ones are actually doing their ones for the individual month. And then, in the longer term of things and the longer scheme of things, take a look at the larger carriers and see which one of those are going. Usually those are going to be going through the end of December. So just, real quick tip, always keep your eyes on those pages. So we're going to dive right into the trends from last week. Some really interesting, good news to share with everybody today on these trends. What you're going to notice here is that NHIC and NetGen is killing it. In my opinion, that's definitely to be expected. Obviously, that is our platinum product, is our gold standard that we like to utilize out there all the times when we're bundling, especially in the accident, critical, and dental fields. But, on the short-term medical and the fixed benefit side of things, NHIC has been holding a steady lead now for many, many weeks. And interestingly enough, on the fixed benefit side, NHIC actually doubled their sales from the prior week. I think it was almost a doubling of almost $48,000. It was amazing numbers. We went from like 48 to 49,000 all the way over to 100 100K and more. It was just an amazing increase on the fixed benefit side. So great job, everybody. I can definitely tell that the supplements are being bundled. The amount of increases we've seen across the board and everything is amazing. We are right in the thick of things right now. So, I mean, it's definitely good to see. I would not expect to really see any decreases in this aspect, but just the numbers that are out there for everybody, it's just some amazing stuff. Please keep it up. Y'all are just killing it and doing an amazing job. Now, on that same note, on the individual basis, on that limited side, we have Kent in first place this week, Joshua in second, and Maxwell coming out of nowhere. Maxwell, I'm going to have to get to know you. The first time that I've actually gotten the honor of saying your name on here, but you jumped in there and you just took third in bronze today. Great job, everybody. Kent, Josh, Maxwell, everybody from the prior weeks, amazing work. Like I said previously on the on the trends, you guys are just going out there and just hitting those numbers and putting in some amazing amounts of sales. So really appreciate all the work that you're doing. You make me look good, you make our other teams look good, you make your supervisors look good, you make Nat Gen rock it. So you guys are doing an amazing job. On the short-term side of things, we have Katya in first this week. Amazing job, Katya. Lewis and Ruben, two other people that I have gotten the pleasure of saying the names for the first time today. So amazing job to both of you. I'm sorry, not Lewis, Lisa. I'm going to reach out to each of you individually. What I like to do is anybody that I've seen that's new or just some new names, because I've only just recently started with Nat Gen again for my second term here back in July. So I'm just getting to still know everybody in all of the different organizations that's under our umbrella. But Katya, Lisa, Ruben, I'm definitely going to reach out to anybody that I've mentioned new, just to kind of just say hi and just say congratulations. But you guys just definitely deserve a round of applause. Everybody did some amazing work. Now, on that note, something that's really going to help that work be solidified more are these sales techniques and these tips that we do every week. So over the past 2 to 3 weeks between Dan and myself, we've been going over some really key points to things that deal with OEP and AEP. Mainly speaking with Dan about 3 weeks ago, where he basically set the main 10 tips that you can really utilize for a fully effective OEP. And that's going to be anything from like pre-setting calls and remembering that people shop early to social media utilization and follow up and things of that nature. So, in a roundabout fashion, he basically did the umbrella coverage of just about everything that you're going to really want to focus on to really truly be effective on OEP and even on the AEP side of things as well too. What I did the following week is I kind of went over some tips to really survive OEP, more on the health front, what you can do to keep yourself physically and mentally healthy during this time. Because as everybody's well to know, I don't know how it is where you're at right now, but if I walk down to the second floor, it's basically an apocalyptic zone of illness and fevers and sickness. So, I mean, it's pretty common, right? It's something that we see every year. It's always in that aspect. But the thing though to remember is you might get sick, that's fine, but always try and keep yourself mentally healthy, remain positive, eat that vitamin C or drink the orange juice. Make sure that you can try and do to keep what you can do inside to keep yourself physically healthy as well. What I did for the following week is I really kind of went over some things that you kind of run into as challenges and roadblocks post-enrollment. And this would be things that your client would be reaching back out to you for to basically say, hey, I had a bad experience doing this, or I don't think that I really got the right information when we went over this specific carrier, this plan, or I didn't sign up for this. What's going on? Why am I being billed for this? So, what we really did is we went over those roadblocks, we went over those challenges, we kind of really put a couple tips in place for each of those three things in what you can kind of utilize to try and avoid that so that you don't get those calls. It's always going to happen. You might get them anyhow, but you really want to just try and be proactive and make sure that you can do what you can now to avoid those roadblocks. Some really simple steps. On the same note of taking simple steps, the simplest thing that you can always remember as an agent, and again, what I opened with today is it's just something that's really stuck with me. And it's really just the main simple fact of how critical just remembering the word retention is. You think retention, and I think from back to my supervisor days where I need to keep my head count up, I need to retain my employees, and it was a constant stressor. It was really the only thing I ever thought about is to making sure that my turnover or the retention was set at a certain level. And to be truthful, it really is a constant, and regardless of whatever industry or whatever job or sales event or service event that you're actually doing, whether it be in person or over the phone, retention is very critical to any organization. So one of the things that you really want to do to continue to be effective through OEP is to ensure that you remember that word of retention. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go over 6 real quick things to really kind of just keep in the back of your head while you're talking to your clients, either on the phone or in person, to really make sure that that retention piece sticks out. Because in the end, retention means business. Business means referrals. Referrals means a larger paycheck. The company stays in business, everybody wins, right? So, I mean, it's just really kind of something that's always there. It's kind of always in the background, but some really easy tips to remember today. First tip, remember that your experience matches expectation. So what the client is experiencing from you, you need to live up to that experience, and you need to really set expectations that you know you can live up to, first of all. Now, when I first started doing sales, and I will date myself, I sold sales for Spiegel catalog. And it wasn't really high pressure sales, but there was a lot of upselling, there was a lot of bundling. And for my very first sales job, just to kind of get an idea to jump into the sales market, it was interesting, right? You know, the thing that I did very inexperienced on that side of things, though, was that I kind of overpromised in an aspect of, like, you know, I was really wanting to hit my numbers. I wanted to get the $1 million goal. I wanted to go on the trip at the end of the year. And that's all good. I was very motivated, but, you know, being motivated is one thing. Oversetting your expectations is another, because eventually you're going to get called on it, right? So first of all, if you do want to set the high bar and set those high expectations, learn as much as you can and get as much information as you can in advance so that you can set those bars. Then, if you are called on it, or even if you're not, you can always live up to those actions, regardless of what time frame the conversation's in, whether it's pre-AEP, whether it's during AEP, during OEP, post, any other 8, 9 months out of the year. Then you can live up to those actions and actually walk the talk. So you're going to set those expectations. Remember, always meet them if you set them, because as soon as that you don't meet those actual levels, the client's going to walk. You're going to lose the sale, or what's going to possibly happen is you may get the sale and there goes next year's renewal. That renewal is just going to jump out, and you're going to be done. This is really kind of something, and I'll be honest with you, all 6 of these things I'm going to talk about today, you could literally sit down and really take a dive deep into each of those individual sections and completely have a full training session on all 6. But the main things to remember here is just, you know, they're really fine-tuned points that if you just kind of think of them on the upper surface, very easily able to be accomplished. Second point on this, and this, you know, this might sound a little counterintuitive, but pick up the phone. You know, a lot of the times we're going to be on the phone anyway. You're either in you could be out on the road doing individual one-on-one sales presentations. You can be in an individual office. You can be in your home office. You can be working for a third-party entity and say, like where I was at, in a contact center, a sales contact center, selling insurance that way. Just get very comfortable on the phone. You know, I know, we've all had the experience on the phone of somebody selling us something that either just, first of all, didn't like their job, but secondly, they just weren't comfortable on the phone. It didn't flow. It didn't have rhythm. They weren't comfortable. As soon as you can get comfortable, that is able to be picked up on in your tone and your confidence that you portray over the phone. And believe it or not, not even seeing the person, it's definitely harder to do over the phone, which is why it's really critical to hone those skills. But if you get comfortable, it's really easy to hear that as the client, and they're going to trust you, they're going to believe you, and they're going to respect what you say. The main other point that I'd like to say on this aspect is that it is always nice and very critical to make sure that you utilize technology, utilizing technology like callback systems or voicemail systems. But the thing to remember on this as a side point, try to avoid an automated voice at all times. Other humans like humans. I don't know about you, but if I hear a computer voice, or even if it's a voice that I just don't understand for one reason or another, it's garbled, it immediately turns me off, and whatever's going on, I've already tuned out. So if you do have to leave a voicemail, or if you are using a system of that sort to make your life more efficient and make it easier, try and use your live personal recordings. Don't opt for the automated version and just click use system default. And I know I do that on my phone's voicemail, which, you know, I should definitely preach what I speak on my phone. I just don't use my phone's voicemail. I hardly ever get any calls on it. So, but with that said, that'll be the next thing I do today, change that voicemail too, even though I don't use it. So, you know, it makes sense, right? You like to hear a human voice, you make a bigger connection. Whether it's even just a voicemail, it's going to be very positive. It's going to be something to remember. And that's going to retain them. It's going to give it a more positive feel. Number 3 on this, and another way to really ensure that you're going to always retain somebody is to make them feel special by asking them what they want. You know, one of the biggest mistakes that a lot of new sales agents make that I've seen is they will always pre-assume what is wanted. Now, you do want to pre-assume the sale. I mean, you want to have confidence. You want to assume the sale, but you don't want to necessarily pre-assume that that sale is going to entail an Aetna major medical with a Cigna dental and break it down that way. You know, in this aspect, ask them what they want. You know, it's kind of intuitive, just like the other one, but it always bears mentioning. And it's really key and it's critical to that because it makes them feel special. It's empowering to them to allow them to answer and to be heard. Because just interrupting somebody by saying, oh yeah, you were going to say that, I totally mean that, that can throw it off too, even if you kind of started to go down that path. Always allow them to finish, always ask them what they want, and you're actually going to see positive returns and positive client retention from this, even as simple as it is. What this also does is it actually moves into our 4th topic, which it allows you to make a connection with them. I put this first bullet point on here because it is wholeheartedly true. Like I mentioned earlier, I mean, I could literally do an hour or more on some of these individual topics by diving down and drilling down deep into each of them. But making a connection with the client it could be even a day seminar on how to do this and, you know, the whole psychology behind it. But besides the fact that it's a loaded tip, what you really want to make sure that you're focusing on. And sometimes this can just kind of go by the wayside because you're taking so many calls, you're having so many conversations, but just try and get something in that connects with them on a shared level of either a value or a love or affinity of dogs or roller skating or 80s, 70s disco or you know, anything. Share something with them in common, and that connection will be 10 times stronger than any other connection that you don't have a connection with. And as far as anything else is concerned, I personally believe that having empathy with somebody when you're speaking with them, in my personal opinion, is one of the most important things that I've ever employed in my sales process. I have done sales and unfortunately, I've also done collections. Collections back in the day when collections really wasn't controlled as it is now by like the FDCPA and things like that, where it was just kind of no hold barred, give me your money or, you know, I'm going to throw you in jail, which, you know, those fraudsters are still out there. But regardless of the situation, utilizing empathy will always elicit a connection. The main reason why is because empathy is something that's really kind of primal and deep inside of everybody. And besides the fact that you're going to share a value or share something in common, if it's something, you know, that comes up that's negative, I mean, empathy can be actually shared and utilized in multiple different ways. But by being empathetic and being genuinely empathetic, that is one of the easiest ways to make a connection and really kind of get a client to do and go in any direction that you'd like them to go. If they truly feel that you care and they want to be heard, you're allowing them to be heard, you're going to get the sale that you need as long as you've made that connection. So while I have this as listed as number 4 in any sort of specific order, I do think that this is one of the top things as far as retention is concerned and making connections with those clients and utilizing and showing that empathy. Something else that goes just hand in hand with it, with that whole process, is to be proud and genuinely care. And what this really means is you got to give a shit about your job. I mean, I have been in so many different organizations doing training seminars and seen so many blank stares. I can tell that they just do not want to be there. They do not care about their job. They just don't give a crap. about being there. To be proud in your organization internally and genuinely care about what you do, even though you might not be actively doing it, it actually comes out in your demeanor and how you talk and how you present yourself. Just being proud of what you do and who you are as a person and genuinely caring about the person on the other end, that's going to actually allow that connection I was just talking about to be even more deeper and stronger. So the deeper the connection and the caring, the stronger that client bond's going to be. If that's the first call, or if it's your 10th call, or if it's your 50th call and they've been with you for 20 years. It doesn't matter. If you're proud of who you are, where you work, you are giving them the quality time and caring for them, they will never leave you. That client bond will be unshakable. They would probably follow you through a complete corporate restructure if they knew that you genuinely cared, because you do. They will go with you to the end. Now, obviously, we don't ever want to go down that route, but that's just to show the power that you have as an agent to do something like this and to be able to, I mean, I've seen people utilize this very cunningly and get what they want. And, you know, we all know somebody that's out there that kind of utilizes this in a bad way, but if you do it in the right way and you are genuine, that's the key word here, it's really going to be something that's going to be the life-changing of this entire aspect of retention. Final point that I want to make before I let everybody go today. In your actions, in everything that you do, just like in the very first point that I made, is you want to be deliberate. Retention these days takes a lot of hard work and intentional actions. It's not as easy to retain somebody now as it used to be 15, 20 years ago, the way that technology and the internet and social media, so many different influencers on the way that things work, is that retention nowadays, I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if there's complete calculus classes that dive into numbers and figures that go so deep into this, it's just ridiculous. But how deliberate you are as a person is going to be how successful you are with retention in the end. Retention is the lifeblood of independent insurance agencies and agents. I mean, without your clients, you have nobody. So while getting new business is amazing and it's encouraging, you should be doing it every day, all the time, retention should be at that same level or even higher, because without that client base, without that book of business, you're not going anywhere. The organization's not going anywhere. Your agents under you might not be going anywhere. So making sure that you're deliberate in all the actions that you do, it's kind of a loaded question and a loaded comment in and of itself as well too, right? But one little final stat I want to share with you here. Just a small 5% increase in retention can grow profits by 75%. I don't know about you, but a 75% increase in my pay, just by a small 5% increase in my overall retention, to me, that I would want to increase by 20%. You know, that would be my goal. Of course, set the goal that you can obtain so that you don't overpromise and underdeliver. But as long as you're deliberate and you're looking at this and utilizing retention as a main part of that entire business plan, I'd like to say, you're going to do amazingly well. And again, you know, just being genuine, being you, being empathetic, caring for the client, it's really going a long way to this entire retention aspect. With that said, I appreciate the time that you guys took with me today. Did about 25 minutes. Every Monday is a pleasure to spend with everybody. If you have any questions, if you want to reach out to me, anyone else in the training team, if you need to contact agency services, I got the number up here for everybody. That is all that I have today. I hope everybody has an amazing Monday. It is a kind of a short week. I do know agents that work 4 to 5 days this week, but definitely remember to take a little bit of time this week, give thanks, and I will talk with everybody next week. Cheers, everybody.